Greetings ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this patch video for Thief Lord from the website Royal Road. This patch video will contain chapters 38 and 39, and as always I hope that you enjoy, and if you do, please consider supporting the channel. Chapter 37, Trouble Magnet. That's it, I'm officially a magnet for trouble. A trouble magnet, if you will. How I managed to get myself mixed into these kinds of absurd situations is beyond me. My best bet is to just go along with the flow and pretend most of these things didn't happen. I wonder if my problems would be solved if I just deleted both of those crazy sisters from my friends list. I'm seriously starting to doubt that I have anything to gain from these relations besides a headache. It's surreal. I'm not even sure I gained or lost anything during this interaction, but I guess it is impossible for me to know. Only time will tell. I suppose I shouldn't worry my pretty little head about it, though. I should just push forward and deal with the consequences if they come. That's why I went straight from the restaurant back to the sewers below the harbour district. Night is about to truly descend, and I want to start exploring the trap-making avenue as soon as possible. It only takes a little less than an hour to make my little group of cutthroats to slaughter 2 more groups of zombies, bringing my experience past the level 8 mark. Congratulations, you have reached level 8. You have gained 3 attribute points and 1 skill point. Excellent. I quickly check all 3 of my attribute points into luck before I assign all 3 of my skill points into acquiring the Trap Maker sub-skills. I've been looking forward to this moment, and I decided to open up my status page to browse my profession page. It's been a while since the last time. Profession, Trap Maker. Disarm Trap. Ability to disarm traps. Chance of success, 0.7 dexterity plus 0.3 luck, plus 1. Time skill level. Chance to recover parts, 0.2 luck plus 0.5 multiplied by skill level. Current skill level, Novice 5. Trigger mechanism reduces the effectiveness of perception checks to spot a trap by 0.5 luck plus skill level. Current skill level Novice 1. Release mechanism increases the damage dealt by trap's payload by dexterity plus 2% times skill level. Current skill level Novice 1. Framework creates a framework of a trap. Makes it more difficult to dismantle the trap by 0.5 dexterity plus skill level. Current skill level, Novice 1. It hurts to know that all of these skills cost me 4 valuable skill points, but I am sure that it'll be worth it in the end. For all the good my character can do, I need to have a variation of options to suit my class. Trap making has a lot of synergies with my class's playstyle. With my high potential for dealing massive damage and lack of healing, the Thief Lord class is highly recommended to be played using guerrilla warfare, making quick and deadly attacks before performing a tactical retreat. Traps bring a whole host of flexibility and safety to the tactic like this. And hey, sometimes I might have to go into hiding for a long time. It's nice to have something to do besides solving crossword puzzles. The next step in the great plan is to advance in my power quickly is to head back up out of the sewers. My 2 beggars have been gone for a while now, and if my guesstimates are correct, then they should be back with the day's batch of available jobs right about now. Peeking my head out of the sewer entrance and confirmed that we are all clear, I climb out into the dark alleyway and the southern tip of the harbour district. I leave most of my band of underlings down in the sewers, as a large crowd might draw unwanted attention. Cobra and my 2 cutpurses follow me up, and 2 of the rogues quickly dart to either side of the alleyway to keep an eye out for any unwanted company. In the meantime, Cobra and I find a good box to get comfortable on. We don't know how long we'll have to wait there after all. After sitting here for a good 10 minutes, I start to regret not assigning my beggars to appear at set intervals. Idling around here is just a huge waste of potential efficiency, and this can quickly grow old after a few weeks. Customizing the schedules like this should be possible, and I've already tried it before. I'm not sure if the game's NPCs work on an internal clock, but they do seem to understand the concept of hours at least. Perhaps I should just tell them to appear at sunset. It's close to the regular schedule anyway, and it would save me some time when it comes to sorting out my logistics. What are you thinking about, boss? What the? I jump at the sudden voice. Alarmed, I turn towards Cobra. Holy hell, I completely forgot the guy can talk now. Crap, I've been playing solo for so long. Dude, not cool. No need to be so tense, boss. There's no point in being a thief if you can't enjoy the downtime like this. You need to find a way to unwind a little. Maybe spend a few of those gold coins that you're hoarding like a dragon. I snort. I don't have time to snack off, and neither do you. He chuckles. That's why you're the boss. Always thinking about the next big score. It's my job to keep you alive, though, and I suggest the best way to do it is to unjam that giant stick you have up. I snort loudly, interrupting his crude remark. The guy might be right. I do need more time to relax. Those crazy sisters are wreaking havoc on my sanity, and I'm not even married to either one. I need to find more time to relax, and soon. Alas, it'll need to wait just a little longer. I have a few more things to take care of before I can lower my shoulders. As much as it pains me to say this, I agree with you. Cobra grins. Of course you do, boss, and I have just the right thing for you, he guffaws. I am afraid to ask. No, you're not, boss, he grins. I know just the thing to unwind after trudging through the sewers all day. It's about balance, you see. If you have to go through a lot of crap, then you need to go through an equal amount of pleasant things soon after. If you get what I mean. He winks, wiggling his eyebrows. I pinch the bridge of my nose. Don't tell me. Oh, but I will, boss. He grins, turn even wider. I know the perfect place, just 3 blocks away. The cleanest beds and woman on this side of town, I reckon. I sigh. I can't believe this game AI is trying to talk me into trying out cyber prostitution. I think I need to respectfully decline your offer, as tempting as it may be. He chuckles. Don't worry, boss. They have boys too. Wait, what? Our conversation is interrupted by the timely return of my 2 beggars. Shooting Cobra an angry glare, I decide to drop the conversation before it escalates into something that I'll regret. Without a word, the 2 beggars line up and familiar notifications appear. Your agents, Dwarf Beggar 7 and Human Beggar 3, have uncovered 2 secrets. Protecting the neighborhood. The job, shakedown, difficulty easy. Deadline 14 days. Rewards 200 experience unknown. The local neighborhood is under the constant threat of nearby gangs. The weak and frail will always need protection, and the upstanding citizens you should offer your services to keep them safe. One they can just not simply refuse to pay. Do you wish to accept the job? Charity, sticky fingers. Job type, mugging. Difficulty, medium. Deadline 7 days. Rewards 300 experience. Unknown. Ulissa, a goddess of light and life, cherishes the well-being of both the rich and the poor. Her priests accept donations every day to better the lives of the most unfortunate. Some may say the criminals are the most unfortunate of them all. Accepting their charity graciously or violently is the only polite thing to do. Do you wish to take this job? Ah, lucky. These 2 jobs are perfect for what I have planned. Since I have a healthy amount of underlings by now, and not enough time to do everything I want to be doing with myself, I plan on delegating some of the more tedious tasks to Cobra. Don't get me wrong, jobs are fun to do and I won't stop doing them, but in reality, I don't really gain much from participating in them. Running jobs takes a long time, and the only really gainful experience I get from them is once I actually complete the job. Sure, I sometimes get to kill a few enemies, but the experience rewards from those can be considered meager in the grand scheme of things. If I dedicate the tedious tasks to Cobra, I may lose out on the kill experience, but I still gain the full experience gained from completing the job, and my underlings can still pick up the loot without me. This leaves me time to do other things, like log off to eat or practice my craft. I probably should log off soon, but I really want to see the profession trainer. First of all, though, I need to put my underlings to work. So, Cobra, if you're done being a jerk, I have a job for you. Of course, boss. Just point me in the right direction. He grins. The profession trainers are located in the Crafters District to the northeast of the city. Maneuvering there isn't too hard, as I can just walk straight through the Harbor District, thus circumventing the largest player populations. The trip isn't too far. and luckily the harbour district offers plenty of cover for me to move unseen. I wonder if Cobra's gang is going to be alright though. I had them go for the easiest of the two jobs, but it's still their first independent run. Cobra should be able to handle it, and the rest of my underlings are no pushovers. But still, they don't have my skills to back them up or my experience as a gamer. They have pretty powerful equipment as well, but some of their levels could be higher in my opinion. It should go well though. If they're rated easy difficulty, then they should outlevel the job by a fair margin. I'm also pretty sure that I threw in more muscle than I needed as well. Only time will tell. I should just focus on the task at hand. The Crafters District is a small district, but still half again as large as the Market District. Unlike the Market District, the Crafters District isn't built quite as orderly. The entire area is littered with different kinds of buildings, and it looks more like the buildings are of 3 dozen different kinds of fantasy races, all compressed into a small area. Personally, I love the look of it all, but it does seem kinda strange when you see a steampunk metal structure with gears and other gizmos sticking out of it being built right next door to a gigantic tree with a bunch of straw huts tied between its thick branches. If I were a betting man, and then I'd say the developers have gone out of their way to put in as many fantasy-related tropes and stereotypes into the different professions as they can. I'll be absolutely shocked if the steampunk building doesn't house a gnome engineer, and the treehouse an elven herbalist. Not that I'm complaining though, it helps with the immersion. The district is divided up into segments dedicated to each profession. The largest part of the district is dedicated to the blacksmiths, as stone buildings and chimneys litter the entire western area. On the opposite end to the east, I can see a lot of gardens and greenhouses stacked neatly together, signaling the home of the herbalists and alchemists quarter. There are loads of different buildings devoted to different professions, and I spend a few minutes to marvel at the mage towers of the north where the enchanters reside. I can't waste too much time here though, and I need to find my own trainer. The district is home to many different professions, and the popularity of the professions is reflected in a number of available trainers. Since nearly half of the district is dedicated to blacksmithing, it isn't hard to find a trainer to teach you. If you choose an unpopular profession like a trap maker, however, the trainers are a little bit more scarce. There are actually only 4 trainers for my profession, which is a little odd. Trap makers can't be that unpopular, can they? I suppose it doesn't matter. Even if I do understand it, if people bother to dedicate their in-game life to being a crafter, then they should at least pick a profession that is more immediately useful than the larger guilds. I suppose traps aren't as sexy as powerful potions or shiny armor when it comes to raiding epic dungeons and slaying dragons. If more people don't want to take up the profession, then all the better for me. I always like being different. Walking around the Crafters District is much more relaxing than other parts of the town. There are no quests for regular players here, or anything else worth noticing either. The only people in the district are crafters. A whole bunch of crafters actually, but there isn't a problem. Crafters in this game are usually far lower level than regular players, and there aren't many professions that require a high perception level. It's actually the easiest district to hide in. There aren't even any Dark Pegasus Guild's guards around here, because why would there be? There aren't any important buildings around here, and thief lords usually don't care about getting a profession. It's perfect. Hide a tree and a forest and all of that. It doesn't take me long to locate the area where the trap maker makes their home. Well, all 4 of them. The profession is so ridiculously unpopular, there is only a single building dedicated to the craft. Entering the building, I find myself in a large hall stacked to the roof with dangerous-looking contraptions of doom. The place looks completely deserted, and the only signs of life I can hear is a low knocking sound coming from the back room somewhere. I considered heading over, but the room doesn't really look like inviting to visitors. There's hardly any room to maneuver, and there are knives, spears, and arrows sticking out from any places. You would cut yourself a dozen times over before you could move as much as a meter. "Hello? Is anyone home?" I ask out loud. I'm not sure if anyone hears me, but the weird knocking sound from the back room stops. "Oi! Who's there?" A gruff voice yells out from somewhere across the room. I'm looking for a trainer in trap making," I shout back. "What did you say? You wanted a cook for a map maker's?" "No, I'm looking for a trainer for making traps." "You're cooking for baking chaps? Are you daft? You better get lost before I come out there and kick your rear, son. I don't have time to deal with crappy pranksters today." "Oh, for the love of—" "Hold on, I'm coming to you," I shout a little bit too loud. "Jesus!" I take a few steps forward, trying to map the best path across the hall. It ain't easy, but a man gotta do what a man gotta do. I'm just about to pass a large metal egg with 24 spears sticking out of it when the voice from earlier reappears. "Hi, watch your step. That thing right there could take out an ogre 5 times your size." I turn around, trying to figure out where the voice came from. My eyes land on a fellow halfling wearing a leather apron with around 24 small pockets, all stuffed with varying tools and materials. The halfling in question is an old man, with silver-grey hair and a pair of thick spectacles strapped to his face. I throw a inspect on the guy. Halfling Grandmaster Trapmaker, Odin, unknown level. HP, unknown out of unknown. MP, unknown out of unknown. Whoa, that guy doesn't look like someone I should make angry. His stats must be freaking off the charts. Triple-digit level. Dude. "Excuse me, sir. Are you a trainer?" "Who's asking?" the man says, narrowing his eyes. He stares at me for a few seconds before his eyes widen slightly. With an amused smile, he says, "It's been a long time since I've seen a thief lord around these parts." He grins wide, revealing a set of white teeth, with a single silver tooth catching my eye. Huh. This is going to be interesting. End of chapter. Chapter 38. Hurrah! "Trash! Complete and utter garbage," Odin says, waving his arms around. "How do you dare call this a trap? It wouldn't even kill a sewer rat. Try again." I clench my fists. "Of course it's trash. What do you expect, an elephant-sized mithril dragon shooting fire out of its rear? Cut me some slack." "Slack? My 2-year-old granddaughter could do better, and she isn't even allowed to play with needles yet. Try again, but this time, better." I mutter a few select curses as I attempt to assemble another trap. Odin may be incredibly skilled artisan, but his teaching method could use some work, preferably in the shape of my fist. Regardless, I don't know how, but his tutelage has shown results. After 6 hours of continuous crafting, all 3 of my trap-making skills have gained 2 levels each. That's an impressive amount, considering half the time has been spent with him verbally degrading me. Luckily for me, tutelage from the trainer isn't a very expensive endeavor, at least not for a novice ranks. The trainer charges a single gold coin per hour, which grants me an opportunity of getting some basic crafting schematics for free, as well as a percentage increase of my skill gain for the duration of the lessons. I am not sure how much experience being taught by a Grandmaster nets me, but it's a much considerate amount. Novices like me can usually only be trained by either a novice or an apprentice-ranked craftsman, unless I have either a really high renown rank or a reputation with certain factions. The only reason I'm gaining tutelage from a Grand Master is because he is a member of the Silver Saints, and apparently because I am, and I quote, interesting. Creating the traps isn't the most complicated task in the world, at least not the basic versions that I'm producing. It's actually really hard not to be able to make a trap, but the quality of the trap can vary a lot. So far, for 6 hours straight, I've actually been unable to create anything other than common grade traps, or trash, as Odin likes to call them. I am not particularly worried about my skill level is still low, but Odin seems to take my failures to heart. The entire process of creating a trap is pretty straightforward, but there are also a lot of customizing options that are available to add to your designs. The easy thing to do is just to add the correct materials and follow the very simple schematic to the letter. This doesn't take a long time to do, but it will also result in a trap always being of common quality. If I want to create better traps, I need to do a lot of work with every single component and spend a lot of time to optimize my design and approach. This sounds all well and good in theory, but it's much harder to actually do. I'm determined to make at least one uncommon grade trap before the night is over though. Storing my latest failure into my inventory, I pull out the ingredients I need for another attempt. I decide to go with the cheapest schematic I have. Schematic, basic trigger mechanism, linen tripwire, common trap maker schematic, requires 4 times spool of linen thread, 1 small wooden stick. Product must be attached to a release mechanism to function. Schematics, basic framework, wooden structure, common trap making schematic, requires 1 times spool of linen thread, 1 small wooden plank, 1 basic magic oil. Product must be attached to a trigger mechanism and release mechanism to function. Schematic, basic release mechanism. Wood flail, common trap maker schematic, requires 2 times large wooden plank, 2 small wooden plank, 1 iron spring, 1 basic magic oil. Product must be attached to a trigger mechanism to function. The ingredients are fairly cheap and Odin can sell them to me for only a couple coppers each. He is also willing to buy any trap that I make for a small profit. But it's so marginal that it doesn't pay well compared to the time I spend crafting. It's a good way to grind some experience without having to worry too much about ruining your bank account though. As I pull out the needed ingredients and lay them out in front of me, Odin retakes his stance directly behind me, looking intently over my shoulder. Not only is this incredibly distracting and creepy, but it puts a lot of pressure on my performance. It's very important that I pay extra attention as to not mess anything up. This is mostly because Odin has developed a habit of smacking me in the back of the head if I do something wrong, which then leads to me messing up the process further. Alright, Ryan, this is the time you finally do it. Be really careful now. Odin grunts behind me. Remember, son, to create a real trap, you need to get a feel for her parts. Start by carefully breaking down each and every one of the schematics to basic elements. I do as he says and separates the piece of wood into a pile and the spools of thread into another. I've been listening to these instructions for hours already, and I already know them by heart. It doesn't help that Odin insists that I create a complete trap every time that I attempt to craft instead of making one schematic at a time. Not only does that force me to create 3 higher grade trap parts in a row to create an uncommon grade trap, but it requires that I need to keep my concentration at maximum for 3 times as long as it would to create individual schematics. Good. You need to visualize the trap. Every part serves a purpose, and it's important that each piece of the tailored to complement the others. The trap is one. I sigh. You've been saying that a lot. It's obvious that I need everything for the trap to function, but why do you insist to make all these parts of the trap at the same time? Why not just make one piece at a time to optimize their strength to the full potential and then combine the 3 parts into a stronger final product? Your approach leaves too much room for error. Foolish apprentice, he grunts, smacking the back of my head. Isn't it obvious? A trap isn't a collection of individual parts. A trap is one entity. Do you think 2 strangers could form a bond stronger than those 2 are twins? The parts complement each other. They must be birthed as one. I gently rub my temples. Odin loves to speak in vague riddles. Most of the things he says sound like complete rubbish half the time. I do think I start to understand the message though. I just have to read between the lines. Basically, what you're saying is that the trap parts to grow more powerful if they are created at the same time. How? Yes, foolish apprentice. To create the parts with the most synergy, they need to be made with the same vision. Everything must be the same. Same ingredients, same ideas, same motions. This will affect the flow of the trap and how it performs. You would be more comfortable fighting a monster using your own arms rather than someone else's, no? I once again sigh. I suppose. What he says doesn't really make sense, but I guess it'll have to go with the flow on this one. He didn't become a Grand Master for no reason, and who am I to argue with game logic? I'll take all the help that I can get. I pull out a knife and start working the timber. This simple trap has several different mechanisms, and Odin keeps stressing that I need to keep the balance even. The most difficult part of the trap is shaping the flail itself. It's a spiked wooden ball attached to a thin shaft, sort of like the spiked mace, really. Remember to balance the weight, apprentice. Keep in the lines even. If the weight is even slightly off, then the trap will lose a lot of its power. To exert the most amount of force, you need a strong base. I grunt in acknowledgement, not daring to allow my concentration to waver. I carefully cut the mace into shape, taking the extra care to measure the length of wood spikes. It takes me a good 10 minutes of game time, but I eventually manage to craft the spiked mace I'm satisfied with. Next, I have to carefully create a base that is attached to. In order to properly launch the flail at the victim, the structure needs to be balanced in order to channel the force evenly, making sure to waste as little of it as possible. The physics is beyond me, but Odin assures me that it works. Good. Now, remember to cut the edges to size. Mind the weight. It helps with the speed of the overall efficiency. Odin says evenly. Make sure there are no lumps. It draws attention, and it causes the light to be reflected oddly. Yes, sir, I mutter, not taking my eyes off the contraption. I work the edges slowly, smoothing over the sharp corners. I lift the base a few times, trying to gauge the weight of distribution. It takes a little fine-tuning, but eventually satisfied with the result. The next part I finished are small wooden connectors that make up both the trigger mechanism and the framework. Due to the simplicity of its nature, this doesn't take long as the structure is small and less convoluted than the woodwork on the release mechanism. With all the wooden parts assembled, I take time to paint them into a thin layer of black oil. It's specially made oil that not only helps making the trap look more ominous, but it also has a sliver of magic dust mixed into it, giving the trap a weak concealment enchantment. The tough part is when I move over to work the linen threads, the tripwire, and the framework. Good, stupid apprentice. Make sure the thread is spun correctly and the density is even along the length of the wire. If one part of the wire is weaker, it may snap prematurely, rendering your entire trap useless. Also, make sure to mind your thickness. Thicker the wire, the lesser the value. What point is there to have a trap that even the densest troll can spot? I mutter my acknowledgement while focusing intently. Spinning the thread is hard and my dexterity points are working overtime. The game system is helping me out a little though, but it still takes me 2 tries to get a wire density I'm comfortable with. With all the major parts assembled, the final thing to do is connect everything to one another. The trigger mechanism and the framework is simple, as I only need to attach the wire to the receptive connectors, but finishing the release mechanism is the tricky part. I connect the wooden flail to its base and gently screw the metal spring into place. I carefully test the trap that can be properly armed without going off prematurely before I attach the wire to the base of the spring, locking it in place with a linchpin. I can finally drop my shoulders and lean back in my chair. It took me around 20 minutes, but I finally made a trap that I could be proud of. An enhanced wooden flail trap wire trap. Uncommon, 48 to 54 cutting and blunt damage, requires level 4. Odin grunts. Possible. Ha! I snort. This is a thing of beauty. You know it, you old dog. I grin, lifting up my trap to inspect it. That thing wouldn't even tickle me. He crosses his arms, looking serious. But it's not bad for killing really tall newborns, I suppose. He says, scratching his chin. I chuckle. Your terrible human is even worse than your teaching abilities. Cheeky brat, Odin grunts, smacking me on the back of the head. He may look angry, but I catch a glimpse of a smirk at the old badger's face. We spend another hour and a half repeatedly trying to make more traps. I manage to make 3 more uncommon grade traps and another common one in the same time. Things are way easier now that I start to get the hang of things. I don't think that I'm far away from leveling up my skills again. Nevertheless, I've been at this for 8 hours now, and it's time to take a good long break. Making these traps and befriending Odin has been fun and all, but I still have things to do. Before I leave, I purchase another schematic from Odin. The wooden flail one is good and all, but it doesn't quite meet the prerequisites that I need for the types of traps that I have in mind. Schematic, basic release mechanism, liquid canister, common trap maker schematic, requires one large wooden plank, one small wooden plank, one metal pin, one potion, optional, one basic magic oil. Product must be attached to a trigger mechanism to function. Stocking up on materials to make a few dozen traps, I head out and start the long track back towards the shantytown. I don't bother setting any of the common grade traps as of yet. I kind of want to test them out a bit. They're not the most valuable items I have, and I need to get used to actually using the traps at one point or another anyway. Might as well stop early. I stop at a small alchemist shop on my way back to purchase a select few concoctions to experiment with. Stopping the second guard back in the Bard's Cottage gave me a few ideas with what I want to try out, and I can't wait to see if any of them work. It doesn't take too long, but I soon find myself back in the warehouse that I've started using as an impromptu headquarters for the last few days. As soon as I peek my head in the door, Cobra walks up to me. The job, protecting the neighborhood, is successful. The community built in mutual safety and cooperation. Those who are unable to protect themselves often require the help of those who do so in exchange for favors. Thanks to your help, the local neighborhood is safe as it can be. Safe from you, that is. Rewards: 200 experience, 42 crafting regions, 4 consumables, 8 gold, 4 silver, and 2 copper. Mentor has leveled up to Novice 6. Excellent. I grinned at the notification from my view. I trusted you had no problems. My lieutenant chuckles. No, boss. It was all good fun. We had a bash and a few skulls and stab a few wives before they took the hint. But they all ended up paying for protection. A couple of local muscleheads from the local brewery figured that they could try to chase us off with a bunch of pitchforks and shovels. He guffaws. Trust me on this. They ain't laughing no more. He roars with laughter. Ah, right, I mutter. The casual violence against civilians still rubs me the wrong way, but the feeding lessens over time. I am not sure if that should worry me or not. It probably should. How did the fresh recruits hold up? Oh, not bad at all. One of the half-orcs got a pitchfork to the belly, while the little cutpurse runt got knocked out cold by a shovel. But they all held up fine. A little rough love is all the motivation they need to get better. I'm glad to hear it, so I guess you're all rested and ready to start another grinding session, I grin. He chuckles. Of course we are, boss. Isn't that right, men? He shouts. My underling shot as one. Hurrah! Well, that's new. End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this batch video. If you enjoy the story, please don't forget to go and show the author some support. And if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below. The easiest way to support this channel would be to subscribe and share as much as possible to help this channel grow. And I'll see you all in the next video, and until then I hope you all keep well and safe. Cheers.